Hey there folks, John here with Through My Lens, and today I'm coming to you with another photography related video. Today we're going to be talking about both the R5 Mark II, which is recording this video, and the brand new R6 Mark III. I've had both. I obviously had the R5 Mark II much longer. I've had that since that came out, and the same could be said of the R6 Mark III. And a lot of people are looking at these two cameras and wondering which one they should buy. And now having both, I'm going to tell you which one I would buy. But before I do, let's back up for a second and let's talk about different buyers and kind of different categories. Now I've already done a video. Obviously, I've done a review of the R6 Mark III that's here on this channel, as well as the R5 Mark II. And you can find written photo reviews of both of those cameras on my website, Through My Lens. I will put a link in the description box to the written photo article on this topic as well. But I've got lots of reviews, photo reviews there on the channel, as well as reviews, long-term reviews on the R5 Mark II. I typically go into a lot more technical detail in the written photo reviews, so do check those out. But again, last week I talked about here on the Through My Lens YouTube channel on comparing the R6 Mark III with the previous generation R6 Mark II, and when a buyer might want the R6 Mark II over the R6 Mark III. And in all of these comparisons, budget is really a big deciding factor. So if you're taking a look at the R6 Mark III and the R5 Mark II, and budget is at all a constraint, and I say that from the perspective of you may be able to afford both of those cameras, but I might challenge you to think about, if you bought the R6 Mark III instead, would that leave you some extra funds to be able to fill some holes in your lens collection? So that's definitely something that you want to think about. From a capability standpoint, the R5 Mark II and the R6 Mark III really are very similar. There's two major things that separate these two cameras, and several what I would argue are more minor things. The biggest two things I'm going to say are the sensor size. You get the roughly 33 megapixel file size on the R6 Mark III versus the roughly 45 megapixel size on the R5 Mark II. And there are some situations where one would definitely be preferable over the other. The other big difference is because the R5 Mark II sensor is stacked, the sensor readout speed is much faster, so you're going to get less warpage and distortion, called rolling shutter distortion, on the R5 Mark II when you're photographing extremely high objects moving at a high rate of speed. Think about the tips of bird wings or baseball bats in mid-swing, or baseballs that are coming across home plate. If a camera has the shutter speed to be able to capture these things adequately, if they don't have a stacked sensor, then that means they're going to have a lot more propensity for rolling shutter distortion. Technically speaking, on the R6 Mark III, it has a faster image capture speed. This can do 40 frames per second versus the R5 Mark II. So some might be thinking, you might see that and think that the R6 Mark III is a better camera for high-speed photography, for sports photography, but that's not necessarily the case, because to get that higher frame rate with the extra megapixels that are in the R6 Mark III, they do reduce the bit rate on the images. So you're getting a slightly lower bit rate on the R6 Mark III images when you're shooting in high speed with the electronic shutter versus the R5 Mark II. But again, most people, unless you're doing professional sports photography, 40 frames a second, even 30 frames a second is probably overkill. you're just going to fill up your memory card. There's a lot of cases where I prefer to shoot with the mechanical shutter, in which case both cameras can do 12 frames per second in mechanical. That also eliminates any rolling shutter speed issues. So that is something to consider. Maybe you don't need to step up to the R5 Mark II if you're willing to shoot at a paltry 12 frames per second. I say that sarcastically because I've been shooting cameras for a lot of years, and back in the DSLR era, I can remember when cameras that could do 6 to 8 to maybe 10 frames per second were blistering fast. Those were cameras that only top sports professionals used. So 12 frames per second with the mechanical shutter on these two cameras is not bad. That's really good. Obviously, more is better when you're doing things professionally, and that really is becoming the stronger dividing line between the R5 Mark II and the R6 Mark III is, are you actually doing professional photography? Do you have a requirement because you have a demanding client, because you're providing images for a demanding medium? Because in many cases, I think you're going to be able to get by with the R6 Mark III. That's kind of on the photography side. On the video side, again, these two cameras have really, really comparable capabilities. There are just some fantastic things that you can do in both. You can do with the R5 Mark II, you can do 8K 60 frame per second. You can do 7K 60 frame per second on the R6 Mark III. If you're just publishing to YouTube, the R6 Mark III is probably going to be okay. It's probably going to be enough. You can do oversampled video to improve your 4K output. Lots of different output files that are available to you. The R6 Mark III really is based on the Canon C50 cinema camera. And there's a good argument to be made that this would actually be a better choice for cinema work than the Canon C50. But again, video work, the biggest differentiator that I could see, do you need, the 8K of the R5 Mark II? If you do, then you've got to pay the extra money for the R5 Mark II. Do you need open gate capability? If you're doing a lot of social media and you want to create a one video that you can then chop up in a lot of different aspect ratios depending on the social media that you're publishing, then wow, what a great tool this is with its open gate video capabilities. Now, again, to just kind of sum up, this part of the recommendation, if I were going to go for only one, probably in 90% of what I do, the R6 Mark III would be fine. Of course, when I purchased the R5 Mark II, the R6 Mark III wasn't an option. It would be interesting to see which one I would have gone for. I probably still would have gone with the R5 Mark II because of the 45 megapixel sensor size. But again, it's a really, really tough decision, and you got to be honest with yourself about your requirements. Is it really worth the extra money for those differentiating capabilities that the R5 Mark II has? Or would you be better off in redirecting that delta, that difference in price, to maybe some extra lenses or other equipment that would maybe further your photography capabilities more? But beyond making a choice between the two cameras, I think there's a lot of people that will actually want to buy both of these cameras. Or in some cases, they will buy the R6 Mark III as a secondary cinema camera. Again, if you've got the Canon Cinema C50, then wow, what a perfect B cam or secondary camera for you, because it gives you some key capabilities that the C50 doesn't have, like an electronic viewfinder, like IBIS. Speaking of the electronic viewfinder, a lot of people are going to be wondering if the difference in the electronic viewfinder between the two cameras is substantial. And when you shoot them individually, you're probably not going to notice any difference in the electronic viewfinder, even though the one on the R5 Mark II is, on paper, a better viewfinder. It's only till you pick one up and then look through the other do you notice a difference. But the R6 Mark III electronic viewfinder isn't bad at all. By no means. If you're doing a lot of zooming in and you want to confirm focus, maybe that could be a reason why to get the R5 Mark II. Myself, as I've talked about in a lot of other videos and a lot of the articles that I've done on Through My Lens, I tend to shoot with two cameras. I like to have my primary camera on a black rapid strap crossbody, but then usually I'm wearing some kind of a backpack or bag, maybe with a couple lenses in it, and I've got a secondary camera body attached to the strap of that camera, or that camera bag, and I can just drop my primary camera, unclip the secondary camera, and go to work. A lot of times with my primary, I've got a prime of some sort, maybe a 35, maybe a 50, and then maybe on the secondary camera I've got a zoom like a 24-70 to help me get the shots that are falling outside of the comfortable range with the prime that I'm using, and that works well. I can get probably 70-80% of the shots that I want with my primary body, use the other camera for the remaining pictures. And honestly, the R6 Mark II was doing quite well for me in that capacity. Probably the biggest reason why I upgraded was the megapixels, because I found myself really trying to use a lot of caution in how I had those lenses distributed, and was there any chance I was going to need to be able to crop with my R6 Mark II, because I only had 24 megapixels versus the 45 on the R5 Mark II. Now I don't have to worry about that at all, and if I just want to grab and go with one camera, it really doesn't matter. I mean, the R6 Mark III can really do pretty much anything that the R5 Mark II can do, photographically speaking, again, outside of extremely fast-moving objects where rolling shutter might come into play. So again, I think if you're at all budget constrained, definitely, if you're choosing between the two, go for the R6 Mark III. If you're a pretty well-heeled enthusiast, or maybe you're a professional, and if you only want one of these two cameras, definitely get the R5 Mark II. It's still the king in the capabilities department. But if you're truly a knucklehead like me, and you really don't care how much money you spend, just get both. We do live, I've said this now I think in a couple different videos, but we live in such a golden age of photography. We really are spoiled for choice. There really aren't any bad choices between these two cameras, which is, again, another reason why I wanted to have both. They complement each other so well in their capabilities. Well, there you have it. There's my thoughts on the R5 Mark II versus the R6 Mark III. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Take care. God bless. We'll see you in the next one.
I hope you've enjoyed this production from the Through My Lens YouTube channel. If you did, please click on the like button and do share the video on social media. If you'd like to see more content like it, please do subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and do check out Through My Lens at www.throughmylens.org.